Well, 300 might have been a list of problems after all. I don't know how well you can see that up in there. But anyway, more work to do. Well, hello and welcome again to River Valley Farm on a lovely Friday afternoon. Oh good, this is even pre-mixed. Cool, I don't have to add water. So yeah, you just saw that little clip there. I've laid down under this thing I don't know how many times now, and that's the first time I've ever seen that. So yeah, 300 might be the number of problems after all. But anyway, the goal for today is to get the alternator wired up and make sure it charges and all that good stuff. And then, now, I guess before we go on about putting all the sheet metal and stuff back on, we need to fix the wishbones, or whatever you're going to call that thing. The front axle support arms, or again, whatever you want to call that. Because that is going to be a problem. Relatively easy to fix, but still, if we don't fix it, it's going to be trouble. Right? So, radiator's full. Next up, another thing I really see wrong with the radiator is this, and I don't really care because it'll be alright. But, you know, it's supposed to be connected from here to there so it doesn't ball back in your face, it just runs out on the ground. And anyway, what? The overflow tube here, from right there to right there, it's broken. Got it? Okay. Very good. So anyway, as I said, I'm gonna wire this alternator. I've got wire. This is what I'm gonna use. This is a 6-gauge wire. And for simplicity's sake on my part, I'm just gonna run it from here down to the starter post right there. Okay. Before we go all that far though, we got to take this off. We're not going to have that voltage regulator on there. We do not need it. I do not like those. They are necessary if you have generators. We don't have one. We have a 1-wire Delco alternator, and that's what we're going to use, so we don't need that anymore. As I stated before, I think we're going to be down to, yeah, we're going to have a wire from the ignition switch to the coil to the distributor, obviously, and then we're also going to have a wire from the battery, or from the starter to the ignition switch, and then one from the start post on the ignition switch back down to the excite terminal on the starter solenoid. So, that being said, I'm going to start with taking this off, and then we're going to run new wires, and everything's going to be happy. Alright, so, haven't done the alternator yet, but we're getting there. This is the main hot coming from the starter solenoid post up here. This is the excite wire going back down to the starter, and this one that's already on here is the brown wire that goes out to my distributor. If I can get my torch lit in this breeze. There we go. We're going to heat shrink some stuff. All else fails, make the fire bigger. One more since we're at it. While we're at it, I should say. Okay, so now I just got to wire this up. Thinking about putting a fuse here just for insurance purposes. Put in a 20 amp or 30 amp fuse right there. I don't think it's going to be 100% necessary, but it'd be way better for the fuse to blow than it would be for, oh, excuse me, other things to happen. So anyway, this particular ignition switch, I'm not saying all of them are like this. Battery goes there, and the start goes there. So I'm gonna wire this up, cut that, throw a fuse in there, and then we'll go from there, wiring up the alternator and whatnot, which is also pretty simple. Okay, so it's not pretty and it's not right and it's not this and it's not that, but guess what? It'll work. But first, before I say that too loud, we're going to try it and make sure. So let's put that to where it's supposed to be to start, about there. Fuse didn't blow yet, so we didn't short anything right off the bat. Get around here where I can get to the choke, because we're going to need a little choke more than likely. And a starter Bendix. So now, let's see. So yeah, that takes care of that. Now we need to run this wire to here, and we should be charging. Okay, so let's see what happens here. Or well, I guess, so we've wired in the alternator. Okay, we're hot, we're live, so on and so forth. Let's see. Yeah, well, I knew that was going to happen, right? We knew that was going to happen, so anyway, let's give it a little turn by the fan. Okay, a little more turn by the fan. Meter's hooked up also, and we are off idle, but this is where it likes to start. So 13.6 and climbing. So it holds 13.7 at idle. That's pretty good. This battery, which it's a way too big of a battery for this machine anyway, but anyway, it's a, whatever it is, it's a Group 31. I have not charged this battery in the time that I've been, or since we got it to run, whatever it was, 2 weeks ago or so. And naturally, I've been piddling with it, running it off and on and so forth. So, that being said, the alternator part is a success. Them two are noisy. And let's see here. We got to do something about that down there. So anyway, that's next up on the list. Probably going to start on it just shortly. Okay, so now I'm going to try and jack this thing up and see where we land here, or if we land here. That boy's gonna get his butt beat. He wants to drive around on the lawnmower, so I let him drive around on the lawnmower, and now he's mowing nothing. So anyway, all right, well, let's get this thing jacked up. Maybe, I don't know if it's gonna quite catch right here or not. I'm gonna go ahead and cheat and put a block of wood on here so we don't have to jack it quite so far. Well, okay. I guess so much for that block of wood. Anyway, so that actually feels pretty good, other than I really need another block of wood. So let me find a different block, and then we got to take this whole mess off of here basically, and see what gives. Hopefully it's not a screwed up threads or something. Alright, so we're gonna take this thing apart. Hopefully, yeah, you should be able to see what I'm after here. And so that one's easy. That one's easy. Yeah. Okay, so trunnion ball itself is in there and it's tight, so that's good. I don't feel anything terrible to do with it, or do I see anything terrible to do with it? I don't know. It's kind of hard to say whether that should be how that should look exactly, but anyway, it's still there. That's the main part. If I can get up. So then the trunnion caps this piece. And this one don't look terrible either, which is all good news, right? We don't want it to be destroyed. But they were definitely, this one bolt that was in here was loose, and there's obviously supposed to be two. So, and then there's this bolt, which doesn't look very good at all. So I guess we need a couple of new bolts, at the very least. And also, because it was resting against the oil pan, that's what I noticed was screwy about it. And I don't think it's worn a hole in it, although it looks like it's been beating on it for a while. Or at least it's been repaired several times before. Yay! Anyway. Let me clean this stuff up. We'll put it back together, see what it looks like. Okay, so we're all cleaned up. Everything honestly looks pretty good for being whatever, 65 years old or so. So yeah, we're gonna put it back together. Put it back all back up in here like it's supposed to be with new bolts. They are just 1/2-inch bolts. So let's get to it. Okay, so all back together, everything's pretty tight looking. I am happy with it as far as that goes. This could have been absolutely disastrous. I'm glad I happened to look back there and see that when I was getting down here today the first time. Yeah, that could have been absolutely horrible. That could have, at the very minimum, put a hole in the oil pan, and bad things would have happened. And then also, well, this jack just does not let off slowly. Anyway, and also, you know, that probably could have broke the tractor in half. Cruising down the road and that thing decided to flop out. But anyway, now I got to start it up again because the carburetor started shaking. No fun. Okay, so yeah, all that nice black smoke and stuff's coming out of this thing because it's running so rich. Not 100% sure. You know, this is one of those. It's a game we're playing. We're trying to straighten it out as we go, right? So, anyway, I think we're about as straight as we can get for today, though, guys. Everything so far is up to snuff. 3-day weekend this weekend, Labor Day weekend. Kind of odd this year. It's not the first weekend in September, or not the first. Yeah. Anyway, is it the first weekend in September? It may well be the first weekend in September. It just seems odd because it's Labor Day's not on the first few days. But anyway, so closer and closer we go. Close enough. I'm going to be willing to put the sheet metal back on it. Zip tie a few things, put the sheet metal back on it, and take it and try it out. Biggest issue with that is it's probably going to be Monday before we get to do that. So we've got, or well, I shouldn't say we, I have some custom bush hogging to go do over by the farm, and then we'll be back to this thing when that's finished. So I guess he wants something now. Thanks for watching, and I'll be back later.